Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back from our summer break. This is the 1-Up Nitro National Series, round number 12 of the 2021 campaign, and we've gone across the sea to the Dutch Air Force Base of Valkenburg. It's a very beautiful coast-side road course. It's going to be a very fun afternoon for everybody involved. And alongside me in the booth today, as always, is Duke Ansack. And this track is got a little bit of everything. Got some technical sweeping bits. It's got a long, flat-out straight you got to navigate. What do you think is the best strategy to go forward? Do you want to have a car set up for downforce, or do you want to have a car set up for top speed?
Well, I honestly think that the best strategy in this race is going to be starting up front. As tradition at road courses, it's a little bit more difficult to pass. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to set up maneuvers so that you can get around people. Even if you have a really fast car, dirty air through the corners is going to be a struggle all day. So I'm thinking that you're probably going to want to have a good mix of speed and downforce through the corners. But it's always up for debate which is better at this type of track. So it's going to be an interesting race for sure, and I'm looking at those people starting up front to have a good shot at winning.
You got reasons to smile as we look at the starting lineup for this race. Alex Verget-Berube in the 3 has had a perfect weekend so far, fastest in practice and over a half a second faster than the entire field in qualifying. He will be your pole sitter for today's race with Dylan Young alongside him. Alex's teammate Elijah Ironhouse in 3rd, Aaron Hall 4th, and Brett Bishop rounding out a top 5 that's made up entirely of rookie drivers. Looking back for the rest of the field, is there anyone else you see that could contend for a top 5, top 10 spot, or do you think it's all going to contend with everybody up front?
I really do think that it's going to be those people up front, but I'm looking at Alexa Lutchen, who has had a struggle. She had a couple of solid practice runs, but she's starting farther in the back. So I'm thinking that she's gonna maybe, if there's somebody that's gonna come up through the field, I think that it'll be her. So we'll have to watch that 50 car today. Really, really, really desperately needs a good run from them. But of course, those up front are gonna probably stay up front today. We're just gonna watch and find out.
And with that being said, the cars are lined up on the grid, and we are ready to bring you the action as always from the Valkenburg Air Base. This is the 1-Up Nitro National Series, round number 12, and the green flag is next. With Alex on the inside lane, Dylan Young on the outside lane, they're coming to the green flag for 25 laps here at the Valkenburg Air Base. The green flag is out. We're underway once again at Valkenburg, and the field dives it off into turn number 1. With a lot of action expected to be seen here today. Alex gets a good run with help from his teammate Elijah Ironhouse, and they go sailing off into the next set of corners past the pit exit. Everybody looking to get an early advantage here as the race just gets underway.
Yeah, that first set of corners right there, you really think that it would lend itself to the second place car, but Dylan Young right there really just lost a lot of steam through the middle of that corner. It allowed the 3 car to get out front, and now we've got 1, 2, 3 as our 1, 2, 3 starters.
And that will extend further back in the battle for 4th position between, it looks like, Aaron Hall and Brett Bishop. She settled in favor of Aaron Hall. So the top 6 now are running as they started this race, heading into the hairpin for the first time. Alex and Young navigate that fairly easily, and they sail it off into this next set of corners over the rumbles and down towards the one main straight that we have on the circuit. It's long enough to get up to top gear, but it's also short enough to where you can't really rely on draft to get you anywhere. So a lot of balance at this circuit, but you really need a good track position, and so far no one's got it better than that 3.
Yeah, and it's a very, very technical course, as you can see. I mean, a lot of tight corners left and right, going back and forth, and it's on a surface that's definitely not made for racing. So it's just one of those tracks that it's a spectacle to watch here, because there's a little bit of contact in the wall in the back through that corner, and we see people getting loose, going crazy through here. Like I was saying, the surface is so rough, not made for racing, and it's just a spectacle to watch, because it's so impressive to see these drivers wheel it through here. And we're watching right here in this section of the course. It's a totally different age of asphalt and tarmac down on the track, so it's a lot to deal with in the braking zones, and it's really neat to watch these drivers race here.
That was Nicky Martinez who made contact with the concrete coming off the final chicane, but she keeps going in 5th position without any further damage, so the race will stay green. No full course yellows this race, as is the rule for all road races on the one-up circuit, but there will be local yellows that drivers need to slow down for, so keep an eye out for those if any incidents happen. Everybody made it through lap 1 cleanly, aside from the 25. And it looks like Alex is going to navigate through this chicane onto the back straightaway in fairly good condition. He's got about a 0.7 of a second lead over Dylan Young, who in turn has about a second's lead over Elijah Ironhouse. So if there's going to be a move for the lead, it's going to have to come through lots of anticipation, a lot of grit, and people are going to have to bide their time in a big way if they're going to want to try and make passes, especially for this time.
Yeah, absolutely, you know, and it's all going to come from mistakes too, you know, mistakes like we saw Nicky Martinez sliding out of the corner. You know, it's easy to make here on a surface that's just so rough and so difficult to manage for the tires and all that. So, you know, the grip level is low, and these drivers are just, you know, they've got to wait for the people in front of them to make mistakes and hopefully capitalize when it happens.
So Ironhouse running in 3rd. He's about 2.25 seconds behind his teammate in the lead, and he's got Aaron Hall about half a second further behind him. But the problem is for Hall, with the downforce being taken away in the corners, it's just very difficult to make passes around here. As we look back through the rest of the top 10, we can see Jared Jackson, who's made up one spot from his starting position of 10th, running some new colors this weekend for his new sponsor, Citgo. The IKEA colors will remain on his teammate Felix Anderson's car, but just a new look for this 23 car, hoping for some better fortunes than they've had in the past few weeks. They've been slipping down the points a little bit, and a top 10 run here at a place like this will certainly help.
Absolutely, you know, and that car, we've been expecting that car to do really, really well thus far this season, so the result's unexpected, but they'll come in time.
We see a battle for the 11th position between Francois Chastain and Sam Donotto in the double zero. Donotto started in 13th, and his championship rival in the 3 car was on pole and has led every lap so far. And as Donotto makes the pass on Chastain for 11, that I don't know if he can gain any more spots that easily, because Zach Rogers in 10th is quite a ways ahead of him. So if they finish the way they're at right now, Alex is just going to get an even bigger points lead.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and Sam Donotto really desperately needs to gain positions. This race was a big qualifying event. You know, you had to qualify well to do well in this race, and everybody knew that going into it. So having a poor qualifying run for this double zero car is going to probably lead to a points situation for him in the future. Coming out of this race, as we watch, here's the 3 car again, still leading this race by a significant amount. You know, and it's just typical. You know, Alex is so good at these road courses. He just knows it. He just can get it, figure it out, and it just all works out for him every single time. So it's one of those things that everybody comes to this track and they know they're going to have to beat that 3 car, or at least try to keep up. And the double zero is going to have to try to maintain and maybe put bandages over the losses for this week.
And Sam Donotto is no road course slouch either. He's run very well on them in the Superstar Series last season. He's run well on the Nitro National Series road course this season. Remember, he finished 2nd to Mark Davey at Sonoma earlier this year, and he could have won that race too if it's not for lap traffic getting in his way, as seems to be the trend this season for Sam Donotto. But up front, it continues to be Alex Vergepperu by 1.7 seconds over Dylan Young, Elijah Ironhouse 3.5 back, Aaron Hall 4.2, and Nicky Martinez running at the top 5.4 seconds off the lead. It's a very interesting circuit. It's, if not all that exciting, but it's part of the schedule, and the drivers knew that going in. They have to navigate these tight and twisty corners, and it's just, like you said, qualifying was an absolute premium. It's like a Monaco or a Hungaroring almost in terms of qualifying dictating the outcome of the race, but that's just a part of the weekend, and some tracks are great for overtaking, others not so much. You gotta roll with it in these races and just make up ground wherever you can.
Yeah, you know, and that's the kind of thing that makes watching a race like this so interesting, because it's really not about who is able to get there and who is able to pass the most cars during this race. It's about who is able to make the least amount of mistakes. And I know I've talked about it already so far, but these guys, if they make any little mistake in this, they're going to lose a lot of time, because everybody is so close. They're so similar, and you just have to be so smooth to get through here. And you just watch both of these front two, and we can kind of have them in the same shot there. They're both just so smooth around this track. And at one little moment, one touch of the curb wrong, one time that you go wide coming out of the corner, one time that you get loose going in on the brakes, you know, if you heat up your brakes too much, you're going to lose time. And one little moment like that could lead to you losing a position or two, and then you're never going to get them back unless it happens to the guy that passed you. So it's just fascinating to watch how smooth they have to be through this track, and how they're able to apply pressure to each other, and all the mind games that go into it.
What Alex is hoping for, I imagine, is to build up a big enough lead where even if he does make a slight mistake, Dylan Young can't really gain on him, because Young is already 1.7 seconds off the lead, and and Alex, I'm sure, is just hoping to build that gap more and more, maybe to a level where Ironhouse is, or where Hall and Martinez are. It's just a matter of time, in my opinion, because this 3-car has been the class of the field all weekend long. He was fastest in practice by a big margin. He was fastest in qualifying by an insane amount of time, and he's led all 5 laps so far. And I don't see who can stop him at this point unless he beats himself.
Well, you can't say the race is over until it's over. We know in racing far too often we watch these races and we see somebody dominate the race for the whole thing, and then at the very end something crazy happens. And there's a couple of parts of this course where you're going really, really slow, and the cars, even though they're still a second and a half apart, they're like right with each other on the track because they're going so slow, especially through the hairpin corners, and like through here you can see that the cars are closer to each other. You know, if that is the area that the 3-car makes a mistake, or even if Dylan Young makes a mistake, or anybody, if that's the spot that they make that mistake, it could cost big time, just because of how slow everybody's going and how close the cars are to each other. You know, there's a couple of spots where you can lose a lot of time. There's a couple of spots you can lose a little bit of time when you make the mistake there. So it's just going to be interesting to see where they all happen and how it plays out.
Taking a look back now in the 4th position, where Aaron Hall has made himself a home in this race. He's sort of, after his meteoric rise through the point standings early in the season, he sort of plateaued at about 16th, 17th, 18th in points. But he really needs to make that push to get up to the top 12 if he wants to race for a championship later this season. So it's going to be a big hurdle for the 7-car to overcome. But runs like this will certainly help as he outruns his fellow Toyota Nicky Martinez in 5th. But a run like this for Aaron Hall is exactly what he needs to vault himself up into the points picture once again.
You're absolutely right. You know, he's just got to be solid every single week, just top 5s every single time. And then, you know, this 7-car is an absolute contender. If they're able to make it into the championship, or if they're able to make it into that playoff, they're really going to be a contender, and they're going to fight for wins, and it just is a matter of getting there at this point.
How about this run from Devon Fair, the Pittsburgh winner last time we raced, and he's backing it up with another solid top 10 run here. The road courses are by no means his specialty. He's more suited to the rough and tumble short tracks of the schedule, but he's making a very solid effort, running in 7th behind Brett Bishop and just ahead of Jared Jackson in the 23 in their battle for the 7th position. So shout out to Devon Fair. He's had a very good run, and his teammate Chastain is also doing a good job just outside the top 10. So these Dayspring cars are turning up the metal when they really need to.
Yeah, the Dayspring cars are absolutely turning it up. You know, ever since there was that drama some weeks ago, you know, these cars have stepped up their game, and that's great to see. Great to see more competition in the field, you know, and it's just good to watch these guys have some good runs.
He's in the sandwich between Brett Bishop, who's about 1.5 seconds ahead of him, and Jared Jackson, who's even closer behind him. So Devon Fair just needs to maintain this position, hopefully get another top 10 run, boost himself up into the top 20 in points. He would be there already if not for a penalty that dropped him down the points ladder after the Pensacola race to start the season, where he had penalties for getting in the leader's path. As we ride on board with Jared Jackson, take us for a lap around the Valkenburg circuit.
Yeah, well, here's a left-hander. It doesn't look like it's blocked, but it's really, really flat. So you have to be careful through there. And it immediately goes into a right-hander. Another right-hander through there. You got to sweep all the way out to the curving, straight through there, full throttle, all the way down into this corner where you use a ton of curve, and then you just hope that you don't slump it off the track through there. You're coming back here, another full throttle section, all the way on the brakes, using a ton of curve. The curves are nice and flat, so you can use a lot of them, and it really does help the car. And that's like a sweeping carousel through there, so you really kind of quarter throttle, half throttle through there, just kind of nursing it, and then you send it really hard through there. It's almost you want to go straight into this hairpin corner right here, even though there's a little bit of a left hander before it. So keep right there, straight through this area, full throttle, all the way down into this next corner, another sweeping, almost a carousel, a little bit tighter though, and then you're going full throttle down this straight right here. This is really because it's above the straight there. And then you're full throttle all the way through here. You get a little bit of draft, but like you said at the beginning, it's not long enough to really make any moves there. You don't really want to touch that curve. Just a little bit higher, and you might start to slide. I think that he just had a bit of a moment right here. But coming through here, there's no curbing in that last corner you just went through, so you got to be careful of that wall, Formula East style, where you don't want to touch the wall on the inside lane. Then you start this lap all over again.
Fantastic analysis, taking us through the 2.4 miles of the circuit. And as Jared Jackson continues to run in the 8th position, ahead of a snarling pack of cars behind him, Zach Rogers has actually made his way past Kyle Corbett in the 86. It's up to the 9th position, so Zach Rogers, after a couple of DNFs in a row at Hillside and at Pittsburgh, he really needs a good run, and he's putting one on here in this 42 Dodge, ahead of his fellow Dodge of Kyle Corbett, and then that Toyota of Sam Donotto lurking back there in 11th. He really needs to get up into this top 10 if he wants to minimize the damage done from Alex's utter domination of this race.
Yeah, and that's big right here for the 00 car, because if he is able to pass these two cars, that's just a lot of extra points that he really needs. It looks like the pack was condensed together, and in fact Sam Donotto has lost some time to those cars that were just ahead of him. So you know, it's the flow of the race. You know, you just got to be careful, and you got to figure out where you can pass cars, and you got to take opportunities when they present themselves. And it looks like Sam Donotto right there has missed out on a couple of good positions.
Good news for Sam Donotto is he's got a little bit of track back to the 12th place car of Chastain and the next few cars behind him, of Polanski and Williams. So he can afford to give up a little bit of time, but he needs to stay in touch with Corbett and Rogers if he wants to make up some good time on them and get those positions, because he needs a good top 10 day, because his main championship rival is just crushing the competition with a 2.5 second lead. So Donotto just needs to minimize the damage, be on damage control as we go back up through the field, and we take a look back at our leader, Alex Verget-Barub, who has led all 10 laps so far with a 2.5 second lead. He's just on full cruise control right now.
Absolutely. You know, and you look at the timing chart up there, and the 2.5 second lead is really respectable in comparison to the almost 6.5 seconds to third place, who is a teammate to this car. So, you know, it just shows that two cars that are probably about the same speed because their team cars are. One of them is just incredible. It just speaks lengths to the talent of Alex at this type of racetrack. It's just his bread and butter through here, and it just makes all the sense in the world that he'd be doing good. But Dylan Young, as weird as it seems to say, while he's 2.5 seconds back from the lead, it's a respectable effort that he's putting on today, and still a solid run in second place.
Even as the gap increases to a full 3 seconds now for Alex as he navigates the first few corners for the 12th time in this race. We're coming up on halfway shortly, and I just gotta say, for this 3-car, for all the good he's done this season, he only has the 1 win to show for it at Atlanta. So, unless I'm no, I'm not mistaken, because Sam Zanotto has 2 wins, Aaron Hall has 2 wins, everybody else only managed to get 1 so far. So, Alex, in this 3-car, he only has 1 win to show for his phenomenal season. He would very well deserve a second here at Valkenburg, because he's just put on an absolute clinic in this race. He's destroyed the competition so far, and I don't see why he wouldn't continue to do that for the rest of this race.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, and Aaron Hall is still on the outside looking into that top 12, so it's really in great benefit for the 3-car to try to go out there and still get more wins, steal those positions away from those people that need them, because Aaron Hall needs to gain positions and stay in it. And I was in fact I see what happened. I was looking at the leaderboard. I thought the positions had changed. It was the fastest lap, so
which Alex also holds, by the way, by a whopping 0.2 of a second. So he's on pace for an absolute clean sweep of the weekend here at Valkenburg. He led practice, he led qualifying, he's leading all the laps so far, he's got the fastest lap, he's on pace for a perfect weekend, perfect max points day, exactly what he needed in the championship battle.
Yeah, and especially because he was only about 25 points ahead of Sam Zanotto going into this race. And Sam Zanotto, if you look at that top 10 that we can see right now, he's not in it. So that's just going to be a lot of good points for this 3-car. It's just going to be interesting to see, because the 7-car is going to be big competition come the playoffs. Sitting there in 4th place, looking really good, might have a shot at 3rd place, and then Dylan Young is the one that has kind of caught up or kept up with the 3-car, if that even counts today. And Dylan Young is up there as well in 5th place in the point standings. So, it's just, this is the kind of performance that you have to lean on in the season. You have to have these every once in a while, and you have to continue to have them, and you have to be consistent. And then along with it, you have to have top 5 finishes every other week. So we've seen that out of the 3-car, with the exception of just a couple of races with some bad luck. But it's a lot of good stuff going on there in the 3 camp, and they're hoping that once they get to the playoffs, it's going to be the same thing.
Looking back at the battle for 3rd between Ironhouse, Hall, and Martinez, they're all on top of each other in that battle. They're only separated by about 2 seconds between them. But Ironhouse continues to hold the position. He's held 3rd for the entire race. And as you can see, the driver you mentioned in the pre-race, Alexa Lutchen, who just went past on the backstretch in that shot, she has not progressed through the field like I anticipated she would. That maybe road courses just aren't her strong suit. She's more suited to the high-speed super speedways, the high-speed 1.5 miles. But I expected more from her, I'll be honest. But she's still got plenty of time to rebound, and she's still in a good points position. She's still 4th in the standings, which is nothing to scoff at. But she just needs a lot more out of her cars, and I imagine once we go to Nashville, that will start to rectify itself for her.
Yeah, it's a really bizarre situation with Alexa Lutchen, because she started the season so strong, stronger than anybody, I'd argue, and she kind of has fallen off in the recent weeks, and of course, just the starting positions, she's really, really struggled in qualifying, starting 22nd today in a race where you really had to start up front, and it's just very fascinating to watch that team who started the season so strong and was competing for the win every single week and top 5 finishes for the first however many races in a row, and it just fell off at some point. You know, she's still up there in the points. She built herself a little bit of a cushion, but they've got to bring it back come playoff time, because once that hits, you know, you got to restart. You got to do it all over again. And right now, that 50 car, I don't believe, is in contention for a championship.
Another driver, I hate to interrupt, but another driver who's fallen off the wagon a little bit is Nikki Martinez in that 25 we just saw flash by on our screen. She had a very good start to the season, along with Alexa Lutchen, but she has fallen off the wagon even worse. She has had several bad finishes that have dropped her all the way back to 14th in points, well outside the playoff picture. So a top 5 finish from Martinez, as she's running in one right now, could really use one of these, and it would really help her playoff standing quite a bit, as she's currently outrunning the 2 guys ahead of her, Brett Bishop and Peter Onjak.
Yeah, absolutely. That 25 car definitely needs a couple of solid runs here, and this could be the first. You know, the 25 right now, if we're looking at the scoring, almost 10 seconds back, and then the 34 car is almost 13 seconds back. So that's a pretty big gap between those cars. Now, for the rest of this race for Nikki Martinez, it's just going to be maintaining that gap and making sure you don't lose positions, because I'm not sure if gaining positions is going to be the easiest thing or not.
Looking at the back of the field, we can see lap traffic won't be a factor much of the day unless Alex really gets a move on, or if the back markers really fall off the pace quite a bit, neither of which seems to be happening. So the lap traffic will not be as big of a factor in this one as it was at Sonoma last time we were on the roadies. But Alex has built up a 4-second lead over Dylan Young. This run has been incredible, and as we have hit 10 laps to go in this race, he's locked up the point for most laps led, so he's guaranteed that. And if he can hang on to win this race, that's a guaranteed 52 points for him. And hell, with the fastest lap point, that'll get him 53, a maximum points day. So that's a very strong effort from this 3 car, who really needed one after a few finishes that weren't to their liking. Even if Sam Janotto had that crash with Matthew Polanski at Pittsburgh last time out, that really shuffled up the playoff picture, the championship standings, whatever you want to call it. But this is a run that this 3 car sorely needed.
Absolutely. You know, the past couple of left a lot to be desired, for sure, for this 3 car. You know, so this is the kind of run that just it really builds confidence in a race team. It really starts to blend them together. When you have celebrations together, and of course it's not over until it's over. Anything can happen. But just talking about it in general, you know, when a race team can celebrate together after a dominating victory like this, you know, that's only helping them. That's only allowing that team to grow together, to build. And, you know, it helps that team dynamic, which in turn helps the performance of the race car. When everybody's happier, when everybody's working better together, there's more communication going on. So this is the kind of run that every race team needs once in a while, you know, and this 3 car is no exception. Despite being the points leader going into this race, it's only going to be good things for the 3 car coming out of this race if everything stays the same.
And I don't see how it wouldn't with a 4.5-second lead over Dylan Young. You can barely see him in the picture anymore, as Elijah Ironhouse still holds off Nikki Martinez, who actually did make the pass on Aaron Hall for 4th, so put the 25 up in the P4, knocked the 7 down a peg in the running order. So a good pass from Nikki Martinez. Shame we didn't catch it on camera. That would have been a very good thing to see, is some overtaking done on this twisty circuit, where passing is very difficult, but as Nikki Martinez proved, it's not impossible.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you have a strong enough race car, you can get anything done, and especially if you've got your face on the hood, you know, that's gonna help you out. With the intimidation factor, I'm sure you see that car in your mirror and you're like, oh, I don't really want that car in my mirror anymore. So I doubt that had anything to do with it, but nonetheless, the 25 car is up to 4th place.
And it's not her face on the hood of that car, and she refuses to tell us whose it is. But
Yeah.
it's a very good scare tactic, if anything else, to try and work out. As we've now hit 8 laps to go in this race, and Alex has actually lost half a tenth to Dylan Young on that lap. So maybe Alex just needs to manage his stuff. He's got a 4.5 second lead. He doesn't need to push the issue any. He just needs a very solid, very clean final 8 laps of this race, and then he can soak it in and celebrate his second career win and his first on a road course.
Yeah, and that's a very surprising thing to hear, first on the road course, because the 3 car is always a favorite when we come to the road courses, so it's just one of those things. We've seen some real special things out of this 3 car on road courses, like moving through the field like nobody's seen before and stuff like that. And today, it's just when you start on the pole and you have the fastest car all weekend, this is how it goes. You just lead the race, stay steady, and then you're gonna get there. So it's we're just watching. We're just watching to see if the 3 car ever makes a mistake here. That's all we're watching to see right now.
And you can see Dylan Young off in the distance. He's got quite a bit of ground to make up. And I mentioned this would be his first win on a road course. This is only our second road course race of the Nitro National Series season, and Mark Davey won the first. So this would be Alex's first win on a road course, but I doubt it'll be his last. He's had such a good run on these types of tracks as of late, and we're coming closer to the end of this race. And Alex, you can see Sam Denotto on the other side of that wall, running in 11th, so it's just a very strong run from Alex on a day when his championship rivals have been a bit slower, a bit further back in the pack, whatever it may be. Alex has just rose to the occasion in a very strong run.
Yeah, we talked about the face on the front of the car being a scare tactic. I don't know if these drivers are able to see over that wall into the other lane of traffic or not, but if they are, that has got to be an absolute confidence booster for Alex in the 3 car, seeing the guy that he needs to beat on the opposite side of the track as you're passing by down the race. That's got to be a good feeling. If he can see over that wall, of course, I kind of doubt it. And even if they could, they probably aren't looking over the wall to see who's on the other side. It's kind of fun to think about maybe what's going on in there.
I know I'd be looking over that wall if I were behind the wheel of one of these cars. It's been a while, but I just might one of these days. But here comes Nicky Martinez trying to bring the challenge to Elijah Ironhouse to secure the final podium place in this race. Ironhouse has held that position all race long, but Martinez has really turned up the ante in these last few laps, and she is really drilling into the bumper of Ironhouse these last few laps. And I don't know about this one, but if Ironhouse can hang on for a double podium finish for this team, Martinez really sent it in there, but I don't think it's going to work, because she had the run, she made the dive. I just don't know if it was enough, and it will not be enough. Ironhouse will hold the position. It's just a very strong run from that organization, running first and third right now.
Yeah, and this 25 car is looking really, really good at the end of this race. She made the pass on the 7 car of Aaron Hall, and now she's working on the 8 car, in numerical order, picking them off one by one, 7, then 8. So there's still plenty of time to lots of corners to try to make it move. If this 25 is doing that well, like we saw in the braking zones, that's going to be where she has to make the pass. We'll watch to see. This isn't really a passing zone; it's more of like a carousel through here. You just kind of want to not crash through that section, much less try to attempt to pass. But we'll see what happens. The 25 car is looking really good right now.
Heading down into the hairpin once more, where we've got 6 laps to go in this race. Ironhouse continues to hold off Martinez. Aaron Hall lurking back in the picture. You can see him in the blue and pink BWT car, lurking back there, just hoping these two have a little coming together, and that could allow Hall to get up into that 3rd place that he really needs in order to vault himself into the playoff picture. But as it stands right now, he would not move up that many positions in the points. But still, a top 5 would be very good for him, especially on a day where Alex has just crushed the competition so readily. and a top 5 would be the next best thing on a day when you know you can't really get the checkered flag from there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and I'm watching this this battle, and we see the number just increasing as far as like how far back these guys are to the leader. You know, they're 12 seconds back right now, and Dylan Young has stabilized for quite some time at about 5 seconds behind the leader, and you know, again, that's still 5 seconds behind the leader, but there's something to be said about that. You know, that the 92 is able to stay that much closer than the whole field right now. You know, it just makes you think about later in the year when we're looking at playoffs and we're trying to see the battles. If we get a moment where Dylan Young and Alex are racing each other on a road course, and you'll look back at this and think, you know, there was that day at Valkenburg when Alex dominated the race, but Dylan Young, he was right there with him, you know. So it's just one of those things to keep in the back of your mind for the rest of the season. You know, if Alex is going to look back at this race and think about one thing, it's going to be the fact that the 92 was able to stay that close.
You can see him off in the distance, and one name who's made his first appearance in the top 10 today is Sam Donotto in the 00. He's gotten around Kyle Corbett in the 86. He's trying to deny the 86 driver his first top 10 of the season, but Donotto has got to survive for 4 more laps, and that's a very long time around this racetrack. So if Donotto can manage that to fend off Corbett to get that top 10, that would be a well-earned top 10 for Donotto, and that would probably be the best he could do at this point in time, because as we've reiterated so many times, Alex has just crushed it this race. He's really been the king of the hill this today, and really anything remotely close would be considered a victory for these guys. And Sam Donotto getting a 10th place finish, that would be very good for him if he can hang on. But Kyle Corbett is still there, and he can make a challenge late in this race. There's still 4 laps of this race to go, but that will be a battle worth keeping an eye on for sure.
Absolutely. You know, when we talked about Sam Donotto a lot during this race, just because of the fact that he really needed to start gaining some positions. So now he's up to the top 10, and that's really good. And I'm seeing on the scoreboard that the 98 car has lost a gearbox.
Yeah, that's one of the things we mentioned at the top of the show. Wear and tear on these engines. These transmissions take a pounding at such a technical circuit like this. And Santiago Alvarez is just one who couldn't make it to the end of this race. So he is our first retiree from this race on lap 21, and as Alex comes to take 3 laps to go, we still have 38 cars running in the race, which is a very good record to have, but it's just a shame that 98 couldn't make it 4 more laps. Yeah, Kyle Corbett managed to get around Sam Donotto once again, so put Kyle Corbett back into the top 10. Corbett, if I'm not mistaken, is still looking for that first top 10 of the season in that 86 car. Oh no, he did get a top 5. It must have been at Pensacola to start the season. It's his teammate Eric Monaco, I believe, that's yet to score a top 10. I apologize for the mix-up there with the 2 Genesis Engineering cars. But Kyle Corbett does have a top 10, Eric Monaco does not. That is where things are running at the moment, but Kyle Corbett's looking to get his first top 10 since the Pensacola round to open the season, which would be a very good run for him, as he's currently mired back a bit in the points, 22nd. He really needs a good run to vault himself back into the picture, as Alex comes off the final corner to take 2 laps to go.
Yeah, and he's just got to stay smooth now, you know. This is the point in the race where, you know, you're hearing everything, and things are starting to sound a little bit different in your ears, you know, even though it's all fine, you know, you're just hearing every rattle, every shake going on in the car, every little bump in the track. You're like, oh man, what's going on? This thing is breaking down on me. It's gonna fall apart. But you know, you just gotta stay smooth. You just gotta keep racing. And you know, it's just a short way to the finish now.
And we can no longer see Dylan Young in the picture. That just goes to show how big a lead Alex has managed to build. It's 5.5 seconds now for this 3 car over the 92 of Young. Going down into the hairpin once more, Alex just needs to string together a perfect final lap and a half here he wants to secure his second career win and his first on a road course. Like we said, his second ever road course race in the Nitro National Series of 5 this season. And Alex is hoping that Indianapolis, Watkins Glen, and Denver go a lot like today here at Valkenburg, because this has just been a masterclass performance by his crew car.
Yeah, and I'm looking at his stats on the season here in comparison to Sam Donotto, and they are not as good as Sam Donotto's stats. Now, they're close, but I'm looking at before this race, Sam Donotto has got 8 top 5s, 8 top 10s, 3 poles in the season, and 2 wins, of course. And Alex, 7 top 5s, not as many, 8 top 10s, which is the same. No poles before today, and of course only 1 win. So all of those statistics even out if this race ends how it is. So it really is just justifying Alex and being the leader of the points, and making it so that this is a championship that he's going to have to try to lose it if he's going to lose it.
The white flag is in the air, and we have one more time around from the airbase of Valkenburg, and Alex is just continuing his masterclass. No one had anything for him today. Ever since the green flag dropped, he has just gotten further and further away. His gap's now 5.8 seconds over Dylan Young. He can cruise home. He can lose several seconds if he needs to just get it home to victory here at Valkenburg as he rounds the hairpin for the last time, going on to the back straightaway now. For Alex Vergette-Berube, he's had a very strong season. He's the points leader for a reason. And as he comes onto the back straightaway now, he can see the back of the field right there on the other side. And you can see Dylan Young back there just now making his way through that chicane. But nobody's had anything for Alex Vergette-Berube today. And it's just not going to be enough for Dylan Young today. Alex has just masterclassed the field. He's finessed this road course perfectly. And as he goes through the final chicane for the last time, Alex Vergette-Berube is going to come off the final corner, and he will secure a lights to flag victory at Valkenburg. Led every lap from pole, fastest lap of the race, max points. Alex Vergette-Berube is your winner in Valkenburg after a perfect day for him. No other way to describe it. Dylan Young comes home second, 5.5 back from the leader. Aaron Hall does a power slide off the final corner to take 5th behind Elijah Ironhouse and Nicky Martinez to complete the top 5. Brett Bishop will come home 6th ahead of Devon Fair in 7th. Another good run for him. Jared Jackson 8th. Zach Rogers, after 2 DNFs, gets a 9th place finish. And Kyle Corbett gets his first top 10 since Pensacola to start the season. To round out the top 10 today here at Valkenburg. This was a dominating performance if we ever saw one. If you ever saw dominance in the dictionary, you'd see this race right next to it, because Alex really put the show on here for these Dutch fans, and they've got to love what they see out of him.
Yeah, absolutely. And usually people pay for a clinic that much, but he gave it to this whole field for free today. It was just something real special to watch, and that team is just on top of their game right now.
Yeah, and for the final time, we race overseas this season, but I'm sure we'll be back for another overseas race. It might not be here, but I'm sure it'll be somewhere where these international fans can see a really good show from these race cars. And as they round the corners on the cool-down lap, we'll say goodbye for now. Next week, though, the Nitro National Series returns stateside to the Nashville Superspeedway out in Tennessee. That'll be a very fun race for us to bear witness to, and we hope you'll join us for that as well. See if Alex can get his second win in a row and his 3rd in the season. No one has gotten 3 wins in the series. We'll see if he can become the first. So from Duke Antek and from myself as well, we say goodbye from the Valkenburg Air Base, and we say congratulations to Alex Vergette-Berube, who took a dominating victory here today. A perfect day here at the Dutch Air Base of Valkenburg.